Good day, everybody. Ironbeard here, your friendly neighborhood mortar maestro. With the release of 1.3, I want to create a video that anybody can follow to turn you guys into mortar firing wizards, or at least keep you from blowing up the wrong hill. In this guide, I'm going to show you everything I know to be an effective and efficient mortar operator. I'm going to cover how I locate my position on the map, how to calculate firing solutions, how to correct misses, and finally, a super overpowered way to get the most out of your mortar. Before we get started, I need to cover where you actually find the mortar. As of the recording of this video, the mortar placements can be built from the command tent as an object or fortification once you reach the rank of sergeant. They can also be built from the construction truck too, so you aren't necessarily limited to keeping them in your base. And when placing your mortar, you want to put them down in the flattest spot you can find. Also, a quick note on the different types of mortar rounds. This tutorial is going to cover the HE rounds, but everything we talk about today is going to also apply to the smoke and illumination round. Obviously, the smoke round will allow you to place down a smoke screen, either for concealing movements for your troops or blinding enemy positions, and the illumination round will pop a flare to light up the night sky. The only thing special about the illumination round is that you can also set the detonation fuse time for when the flare will activate. It's usually okay to leave this set to auto, but you'll still want to check the flight time for your distance, elevation, and charge rings, and make sure that the fuse is less than the flight time. Otherwise, the flare won't ever get a chance to go off. So, with that said, let's get started. First up, you need to figure out where you are on the map, but not just a general area. You can't hit a target without calculating your target with pinpoint accuracy unless your target is random chaos, which admittedly is my style some days. So, step 1, find your location on the map. We're going to use a method called resection, but I like to call it triangulation. If you've seen my navigation guides, then you'll be familiar with it, but here's one. You shoot azimuths to known landmarks that you can find on your map, draw some lines, and where they cross is where you're standing. It's very important that you have a very accurate location for yourself, because we're going to be lobbing mortars from distances that will be affected greatly by being off, even by just a little bit. We're in Regina today. Gorgeous place, good food, no arsenals, and great landmarks. We've got a church thingy, a radio tower at the supply depot, and Tower Regina that we can use to find our position. Here's how it works. First, open up the map and find the general area you're in. Locate the landmarks that are likely visible from your position and place down a private marker for each one. You'll want to do this for at least 2 landmarks, but I like to have 3. Here's that small radio tower at the Regina supply depot in conflict. Here's that church thingy. And finally, there's Tower Regina. Next, grab your compass, yes, the thing that's not your phone, and get a compass bearing to each landmark. I'm not really into doing math in the field, as I can barely do math with a calculator, so I'm going to keep this simple. See this? On the US compass there are 2 rings. Black markings on the outer edge are for mils, red for degrees. We're using mils because mortars love precision. I'm aiming at the church thingy now. Looks like 5,360 mils. I'll update my marker info so I don't forget it. It would be really nice if we had some in-game scratch paper for these kind of things. Next is the small radio tower. It's hard to tell, but it looks like 4,350 mils. You'll notice that all your markings sort of move around as you zoom in and out of the map. Evan really needs to fix that. And you can help remind Evan he needs to fix everything by purchasing one of my brand new Fix It Evan shirts, now available in the merch store. Link in the description. Lastly, let's get a bearing for the main radio tower. I'm going to call it 430 mils. Now's the part where we triangulate our position. Don't mind these extra markers, they're duplicates for some reason. Hopefully Evan can fix that too. Open up your protractor tool by pressing B on the keyboard or select it from your toolbar on the edge of the screen. Place the very center of the protractor over your marker and landmark. Make sure you get it very close. Next, open up your pencil tool. Again, this can be found in the toolbar, or you can press N on the keyboard. These numbers on the outside of the protractor are mils, and the inside numbers are degrees, so don't get them confused or you'll be way off. Use the pencil tool to draw a line from the bearing associated with that landmark and extend it all the way through the very center of the protractor and beyond. Give yourself lots of room here. I made a mistake here and need to correct. It really does need to be through the very center, and it doesn't help that the markers move around depending on your zoom level. It also doesn't help that the whole map marker system is very finicky. So let's start over. That should be good. Now do this for all landmarks. I'm looking for 4,350 mils on the protractor, which is where I'm going to extend my line from, through the very center of the protractor and beyond to the other side. Now, for the church thingy, same thing. Center the protractor on the landmark and draw a line from 5,360 mils through the center and out the other side. Check out where these lines intersect. Right here in the center. This should be your exact location and will be as accurate as you were able to draw your lines and get your bearings. You'll be calculating your firing solutions from here on out, so definitely place a marker here. Let's compare the map marker to where we are in the world. Well, here we are. Not bad. There's the fence, there's the house, and there's the edge where our mortar is. You can, of course, adjust the marker if you feel it's a target. We're out here next to Military Base Levy acting as the forward observer, where our job is to mark targets and call in for the appropriate fire mission. Well, would you look at that? An arsenal, the perfect target. This time, it's the Soviets who are going to get wrecked. As the forward observer, you'll want to find the exact location that mortars should be landing. If you're really sweaty, you'll probably give your team grid coordinates. But since this is Reforger, it's easiest to just place down a public marker. Let them know over the radio that you have a fire mission ready for them, and now it's up to the mortar operators to do their jobs. Now comes the technical part. Hopefully you're not a one-man crew and have someone who can dedicate their time and skills to this part, as it can involve some math for the best results. First, take your pencil tool and draw a line from your exact position and extend it beyond the target marker. Place your protractor over the exact center of your position, like we did with the landmarks earlier. You should be a pro at this by now. Get your heading. These marks are in 20 mil increments. Looks like it's exactly 90 mils. I'll create a private marker for myself with this information. Next, rotate the protractor so that it's aligned with your pencil line. Then use the ruler to measure the distance between your exact location and the target marker. Because the distance is beyond the ruler, a new thing in 1.3 is the elevation info on the map. This will help you with using the elevation corrections in the mortar chart, but my target and my location doesn't have too much of a difference in elevation to make a large enough impact. Each marking is in 10-meter increments. Looks like the distance is approximately 2,165 meters. I'll update my marker so I don't forget. Next, the fun stuff. Firing tables. Inside the arsenal, you'll find the US Mortar Ballistic Manual. Quick slot it to 0. Bam! Data Central. This page is for the M821HE shell, 4 rings, which you'll want to pay attention to. You can flip through the pages to find the corresponding shell types and ring numbers. Basically, charge rings are little flammable attachments that ignite once the mortar fires, which builds more pressure in the tube and causes the round to go farther. That's why it's important that you pay attention to how many rings are on your shell. Once you adjust the rings, the game will automatically set them for new rounds. Remember, our distance was 2,165 meters, which looks like it corresponds to around 1,188 mils in elevation, with 4 charges on the mortar. However, the distance was a little farther out, which will result in a smaller number in mils. I'm guessing 1170 mils, but I will show you a more sweaty way to figure this out later. First, let's adjust our direction, which is shown on the very bottom edge of the screen. We need to rotate the mortar to 90 mils. The left side of the screen shows the elevation in mils, and you can safely ignore the info on the right. Now, for the actual fun part, firing a mortar solo is like herding cats while riding a unicycle, but it can be done. Next, take an HE round from the arsenal and make sure it has 4 charge rings, which it does by default. You can adjust the number of rings by inspecting it. And fire away! We're just going to send 1 round for now. This is called the registration round, so your forward observer can tell you how close your rounds are to the target. Here's where you tell your forward observer that a shot is out, which will let him know to expect impact soon, and they will update you on how you need to correct. If you're on target, your FO should tell you to fire for effect, at which point, pump him out. Splash! That's how you fire a mortar. Say goodbye to that arsenal and whoever was standing there. It should be noted that it's very unlikely that your first registration round is going to land directly on target. I got lucky here, so let's move on to how to make corrections. I've set up shop in a new scenario this time around, and we'll quickly go through the process from the beginning so you can really get a good understanding of what I'm doing. I'm currently at main base and decided that Monty is going to be my target. I set up the mortar directly next to the cherished arsenal so I can skip the triangulation process since I already know my position. My elevation is 85 meters, and it looks like the target's elevation is around 170 meters, which could make a slight difference. Now I'm just going to draw my line to the target, get my protractor out, center it over my mortar's position, and get my azimuth. Looks like 1,260 mils. Rotate and measure the distance with the ruler. Looks like 2,810 meters. Now let's get everything set up. We're at 1,260 mils. Good. We'll need the chart to get our elevation. Hey look, more stuff Evan needs to fix. Looks like 2,800 meters is at 942 mils. Now let's grab our mortars, but before we do, make your life easier by grabbing a large backpack so you can store more of them and fire faster. I like to sling my weapon since it's usually just in the way as we try to operate this thing. Four charges. Good. Let's send it and see where it lands. Looks like it landed a bit short and in the tree line. This is where your forward observer would mark where the round landed. I like to use a little red dot. I'm going to draw a line from the dot that intersects with my directional line. We'll be measuring the distance between these two lines with the protractor. Next, draw another line from your mortar position and extend it beyond the marker for where your mortar impacted. Now we get to see why we are using mils instead of degrees for our mortar calculations. Bring out your protractor and set it over your position again. Look at the difference between the two lines, so small that it's not even wider than the markings on the protractor. If each mark is 20 mils, I'm going to guess that this particular distance is around 5 mils. I had originally measured 1,260 mils, and I hit left by approximately 5 mils. So I need to shift right by 5 mils to 1,265. Next, rotate the protractor to align with your target line, and measure the distance between where your mortar landed and your target. Looks like around 82 meters short. Now we need to correct our elevation by 82 meters and shift our azimuth to the right by 5 mils. Here's where we need to get a little sweaty. Since we're ranged in at 2,800 meters, or 942 mils, we need to figure out how many mils is needed to add 82 meters. The fastest way to do this is by getting the distance in mils between 2,800 meters and 2,900 meters. Or rather, the difference between 942 mils and 870 mils, which is 72 mils. Divide 72 mils by 100 to get how many mils per meter you need to correct for. Use this number to multiply by 82 meters, and we get a correction of 59 mils. Since going farther results in a lower elevation in mils, we subtract 59 mils from 942 mils to get a corrected elevation of around 882 mils. You know, because Reforger is dumbed down for consoles. Alright, so watch closely at how small the adjustments I'm making are. Time to send it. I'll send 3 this time. Right on target. And here's a pro tip for the most overpowered use of the mortars this game has to offer. Once you rank up to captain and have access to the HE rounds, you can have your AI squad mates fire the mortar for you. And they are very accurate. Simply recruit them and give them a get in command at the mortar. Then, when you have a target, you can give them an artillery fire command from the map on the position you want to destroy, and they will start shelling an area until you tell them to stop or they run out of supplies.
Copy.
So with that, you now know everything you need to know about being a Chad mortar operator. And that's not the only tips I have for you. Arma Reforger can have quite a lot of nuances, so if you want to win more matches in conflict, watch this video next. This is Ironbeard, and I'll see you on the battlefield, preferably from a safe distance.